Spencer Humphrey here with Channel 4. The rural healthcare crisis here in Oklahoma has hit a breaking point this week. The town of Clinton, Oklahoma is having to give its local hospital $200,000. The city itself is having to give the hospital that money to keep it from shutting its doors. The hospital was about to not make payroll this week. It's all after the hospital, these rural hospitals have never really been profitable because just by their very nature, they don't serve that many patients. And this hospital was trying to sell to a private company that would have been able to buy it and operate it without having to shut it down because they could move money from their other hospitals where they do make money to this Clinton hospital to keep it going. But that sale fell through this week. And what's interesting is that this all kind of ties in with the uncertainty we're seeing over rural healthcare right now. With the cuts we're seeing to Medicare and Medicaid, rural hospitals don't really know if they're going to have that income flow to survive moving forward. And companies that might be thinking about buying them are now kind of getting cold feet on, is this something that we can really afford with these cuts coming to Medicare and Medicaid? And that's what we're seeing playing out now in the town of Clinton, where this hospital is being forced to ask its own city for money to keep the doors open because they can't find anyone to buy it. So that's what's going on here in Oklahoma, and it's something that we're going to see playing out probably a lot more. 28 of the 71 rural hospitals in this state are in danger, critical danger of shutting down by the end of the year. Of course, we're going to keep following this and bring you all the updates.
All right, mamas, y'all better sit down for this one because California just said,
"Hey, predators, here's a shortcut to the kids.
No license, no background check, no parent permission required.
Enjoy."
It's called AB 495, and if you thought CPS was bad, oh honey, this is a whole nother level. Apparently now, any random adult, I don't care if it's your ex's shady cousin, your neighbor's spiritual mentor, or some guy who once coached Little League back in 2012, can fill out a little form called a caregiver authorization affidavit. Say they've got a mentoring relationship with your kid, and bam! They got access. Access to enroll your child in school, take them to the doctor, to approve mental health treatment. No parent signature required. No notary, no judge, just vibes and a pen. Oh, and don't worry, they pinky promise under penalty of perjury. Because clearly no predator has ever lied on paper before, right? Let me break it down for the folks in the back. They are literally legalizing kidnapping by affidavit. This isn't family preparedness. It's government-sponsored loophole parenting, but only if you're not the real parent. But sure, let's act like this is about helping immigrant families prepare for separation, when really it's about separating parents from their rights. Parental rights erased, safety checks gone, child exploitation now conveniently state approved. At this point, why even have parents? Just let the state assign kids at birth to their nearest activist mentor and be done with it. If you're not mad yet, you're not paying attention. Call your reps, blow up their phones, because this isn't about protecting children. It's about making it easier to take them. And Mama Bears, we don't do silence, we do roars.
Barack Obama had big part of 9/11.
Which part?
Not being around, always on vacation, never in the office.
Why do you think Barack Obama wasn't in the Oval Office on 9/11?
That I don't know. We'd like to get to the bottom of that.
What about what happened on January 6th? What do you think what happened there? January 6th,
The election day?
No, election day was back in November.
I don't even know what.
Do you know about January 6th?
No.
So when I say January 6th, that means just...
Nothing. I don't know.
That's just a day to you?
Yeah.
Did you hear about the insurrection attempt at the Capitol?
No.
So there's nothing Barack Obama could do to prove that he was born here?
If there was maybe witnesses that were attendants at his birth.
Like his mother? Would you listen to his mother?
No. She has motivation to lie.
So you don't trust Donald Trump's birth certificate either?
Yeah, because he's been here forever.
Well, how do you know? But what's your proof?
Well, his parents and...
But no, but they're biased. I'm talking about like people who could be in the room.
Why would they be biased?
Well, like, I'm just using your logic against you.
Okay.
And what's your source?
Just Facebook or Twitter. I mean, everything. And
So you'll look at like facts and you'll put it all together.
Exactly.
I feel amazing. And I feel like a lot of the Christians who didn't want to vote for him or didn't want to vote at all because he's not pro-life enough or he's not 100% this.
Wait, pro-life people didn't vote for him because he wasn't pro-life enough? Stop. What?
They wouldn't vote at all because Jesus wasn't on the ballot. So
yeah, I've never seen that.
Yeah, there's a lot of Christians in my own hometown and just people in the church that, they see politics and they don't really want anything to do with it.
So you believe in the separation of church and state?
I don't. I think that the church should be on the front lines of the state.
Why?
Because that's what our founders wanted, and that's why they founded our country the way that they did.
Oh my God, I'm an algorithm How? Please interact with this video if you appreciate my content. Did you guys see what just happened down in Nebraska with that one rural community hospital that announced it's going to be shutting down specifically because of Medicaid? Well, a bunch of journalists went out there to interview the residents. They're all MAGA. And let me tell you, they don't believe it. They think the hospital is lying, that people are looking for a reason to blame Donald Trump. They're saying these Medicaid cuts don't even kick in for another 2 years. It's all lies, lies, lies. And they're angry at the liars who want to take down Donald Trump. They're blaming it on greed. Listen, I know that they don't teach this kind of stuff in public schools, but when it comes to hospital budgets, which are complex, they're enormous. You need multiple accountants to take care of it. They do what's called short-term budgeting, which is 1 to 5 years in advance. That includes anticipating what's going to happen 2 years from now when these.
Never in my wildest dreams did I think taking a video of myself talking about going to Mexico for dental work was going to cause people to give me death threats and threaten me in my messages.
In all of my wildest dreams, I completely expected you to come on this internet and cry about mean comments, as if your vote didn't just wreck hundreds of thousands of people's lives, snatch away their jobs, strip them of health care, and in some case, literally get them killed. People are being brutalized, deported, and left to suffer because of the policies that you voted for. And now you want us to feel bad for you, Karen, because the internet hurt your feelings. Be so for real.
Literally just wanted to post about how it was like cheaper to go to Mexico, and people are making it political because I voted for Trump. Like, I don't hate Mexicans. I just don't want illegal people coming into my country.
You got on here to admit to us that you're not educated and didn't even understand that you were indeed voting for a healthcare system and that it is political. You also got on here to confess that your traditional provider of a husband has failed his family financially, and he's got his own wife smuggling herself into a shithole country across the same border she wants walled off just to get her teeth done by the same dangerous illegals she loves to demonize. A classic colonizer playbook. Go to another country, exploit their labor and resources to make your life better, but vilify immigrants when they try to come here to make their lives better.
You're the one that hates on the president of the United States on a daily basis, so move the fuck out.
You're the one that hates on the Constitution.
Except I don't hate the Constitution.
Yeah, you do.
The original Constitution.
What does that mean?
The Constitution that was made to be unchanged.
The Constitution was not made to be unchanged, you ass. What's a constitutional amendment?
Please show me where that says.
What's a constitutional amendment? Oh, hey, bud, do you like your right to own guns?
Oh, gladly.
Oh, do you know that was from a change to the Constitution?
Please show me that, actually.
The Second Amendment. What is an amendment, Caleb? You're amending it. You're changing it. An amendment is definitionally a change. In hell.
What's good, family? So I've been seeing a lot of people talk about how a lot of these hospitals and healthcare people are being laid off and a lot of hospitals are closing, and it's because of the big, beautiful bill.
Not only did the bill pass, okay, but for all the people that was in this comment section of this video talking about, oh, they're going to wait 2 years, they're going to wait, we're not going to see the effects until the end of the 4 years and arguing with an expert. I'm an expert! And there's already doctors and nurses on here telling y'all that they are getting laid off. And in middle America, where you people are poor, they're already having to close facilities and turn away patients.
What the hell did you all think was going to happen? Do you realize how, stressful all of these immigrants coming to our country was on our financial system? Like, are y'all stupid, or like, have y'all been here the last 4 years? Do you really fucking think that any of these places went broke within the last 8 months? They were already going broke. I had to like put somebody on blast in a live that I was in a couple of months ago, who was pretty much talking about Nebraska and how there was a hospital out there that was going broke and they were closing up. Then I pulled up an article for like last year that was saying that the hospital was already going broke. We allowed millions of people to come in our country right after our entire country was shut the fuck down. Right after we had a big ass pandemic. Majority of these people, they don't have fucking healthcare that we have like through our jobs or anything. They oversaturated our resources. And I don't understand when y'all gonna get it in y'all head. The reason why our housing market is out of control is because it's a supply and demand, because there's more people here who are able to qualify for low income housing. And they want them to be a part of their political game, their numbers game, that they could just completely move the people out who are from America, who are American citizens, who are the taxpayers. It's like y'all have not been here the last fucking 4 years. It's no different than how it was when we first went back to work after the pandemic and all of these companies hired so many additional people. And then like a year or so or 2 years later, they wanted to lay off all of these people. You didn't think that shit was going to happen in the government sector? It then literally hired so many more people for so many other jobs that was not necessary. Now, because the chips are falling down, now y'all want to point at the man who's in office right now. And how many times have they been caught cooking numbers? They've been cooking the books, lying about numbers. Didn't come over here like the people that came over here before. These motherfuckers came over here and literally got a golden ticket. School system was stressed out of resources. Welfare system was stressed out of resources. Housing was stressed out of resources. Then they're building all of these additional houses and all of these additional apartment buildings, knowing that motherfuckers 9 times out of 10, an everyday working person cannot afford to live in these whack ass apartment buildings that they build it. To think about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I was living in a 3-bedroom, full basement, full backyard, full front yard, double, and paying $750. Thrill is gone. It ain't got nothing to do with who's in office right now and everything to do with what has happened over the last 4 years.
So you think we're better off as black people now than we were before LBJ passed those policies?
Yes, brother, we can vote without the threat of violence. Are you talking about the Civil Rights Act of 1964? Is that what you're describing as a negative thing?
I'm not saying the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was, I'm talking about...
That's LBJ. I just want to be clear. That's LBJ who you said, were we better off before LBJ? LBJ signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
I'm talking about the war on poverty.
I just want to answer that one. I want to answer that specific one first. Was the Civil Rights Act of 1964 bad?
I agree with the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
Thank you.
But at the same time, I'm also, put like this, I prefer dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery.
I don't know what that means.
I'd rather deal with the dangerous freedom of not knowing and controlling people with policies as much as possible versus the peaceful slavery of being married and tied to the government.
Given Trump's well-documented history of saying and doing racist things, I wanted to know how these black people could be drawn into Trump's political orbit. I learned a lot about black Republicans, and I think you will too. So with that, let's dig in.
So let's talk about what's really happening with rural hospitals in America, because the people that caused this aren't going to. The Trump administration and Republicans in Congress just passed the largest healthcare cut in U.S. history, over $1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. That means 15 million people are at risk of losing coverage, hospitals are already shutting down, and now they want credit for a $50 billion rural hospital fund after taking hundreds of billions of dollars out of the Medicaid program. They're not fixing the problem, they're hiding from it. Also, there's no requirement that the money even go to rural hospitals. No real rules, no oversight. So let's be clear. This crisis is not accidental. It's the direct result of policy choices. Choices that prioritize tax breaks for the wealthy over people's ability to get healthcare. In rural America, hospitals are closing 4 times faster than they are in cities. Some are cutting ER services, OB units, or shutting down completely. And people are being left with nowhere to go in an emergency. So this fund won't stop that. It won't undo the damage. We need real funding for our hospitals, real accountability, and leaders who treat healthcare as a right, not a bargaining chip. So if you like this video, like and follow Protect Our Care and help us hold them accountable.
My name is Amber Leonard. I'm a licensed practical nurse that lives in Los Animas County, and I help oversee taking care of the elderly, disabled, and hospice patients that are on the last terms of their life. This big, beautiful bill is going to affect my community by taking away the access of their care. And a lot of these patients, they have nowhere else to go. So are we really at that point that we're going to risk our vulnerable? I don't think so. That's not the American way.
I love it when people say, well, I'm glad we don't have socialized healthcare in the United States because I don't want to have to wait a month in order to get a doctor's appointment. And I really want to know where people live where they don't have to wait a month to get a doctor's appointment or even more. When I lived in Indiana, I haven't really experienced what the healthcare wait times are like in Washington yet. But when I lived in Indiana, a month was pretty much like the minimum that I would have to wait in order to get an appointment with my doctor. And if I wanted to get an appointment during the beginning of the year, like in January, when everybody's doing their mandatory health checkups for their insurance, then I would have to wait 3 fucking months. And it's not getting any better, it's getting worse because a lot of rural hospitals are shutting down because of the cuts to Medicare funding. And Republicans hated when I would talk about this, even though I am talking about Trump's main voter base, people in rural Midwestern towns where they have to drive an hour to get to a fucking hospital. And that's before Medicare cuts are going to force a lot of these clinics to close. And these clinics that are at risk of closing are in areas where there's not a lot of alternative for people. They're in rural areas, underfunded parts of the country. If you're having a fucking medical emergency, you're screwed. Because even if you're doing an ambulance can bypass traffic and all of that stuff, they're still not going to get to you very fast. We're talking about a 30+ minute wait just for the ambulance to get to your house, not to get to the hospital. And then they want to talk about the wait once you get into hospital, the triage. We have triage here in the United States too. Medical facilities in the United States are extremely understaffed. So if you go to the hospital when they just so happen to be seeing more patients than they can handle, which is going to be very often because they're not staffed for the amount of people they have to serve, then you're going to have to wait for hours to get medical care. So yeah, the trade-off isn't you pay a fuck ton of money to get health.
Well, one of my videos about Sound of Freedom got the attention of a couple of very large right-leaning ultra Maga accounts. And rather than address the issues brought up in those videos, they decided to do the typical thing, which is, well, you've been a piece of shit before too. And they did this by saying oh, well, look what Tizzy's posted. And it's a combination of legitimate shitty posts that I've made years ago that I am ashamed of and disgusted by, and I have addressed previously. Also other posts that intentionally have the context removed from them. The best way I can describe it is, imagine if I stitched a video and then was like, don't be like this. And then someone took the stitch part and removed my commentary about it and said look what Tizzy posted. And then my personal favorite, stuff that is just legitimately manufactured that I never posted. And the first time that happened, it did piss me off, especially when it was shared by people who claim to want the same things I want. But they like to make videos about me. And if you need to know why, you just look at the view counts of videos that mention me versus videos that don't. And it pretty much tells you what their motivation is. And that pissed me off. I was like, I didn't say this thing. I've done plenty of shitty things. Why are you having to make up stuff? And I wanted to go, oh, I didn't post that. And then I had a very sombering look inside and realized I had no right to be upset for 2 reasons. First is, if I'd never ever done anything shitty, I wouldn't have to say, well, this is fake. And the second is, if I go back far enough in my life, if I couldn't find a time where I would have said or done that thing, I would have found a time where I'd stand by while someone else did. And that's equally as shitty. So just in case anyone didn't know this, in my lifetime, I have been racist and homophobic and misogynistic and bigoted. And you know what? As a white, straight, cis man, it's very easy to be those things. In fact, a lot of that stuff gets justified by religious beliefs. What isn't as easy is facing the fact that that's wrong and to try and do the work to unlearn that stuff, to actively be anti-racist and anti-homophobic and anti-misogynistic. That work and unlearning those things goes on forever because it's not an on-off switch. It's like a gas tank. You have to constantly make the effort to keep it on E. I also think there's a lot of people who believe I call out the behavior I do because I think I'm better than those people, and that's not it. You may notice I'll say stuff like, oh, I know you're doing this because you think it's dark humor, and it's not. I say stuff like that because those are the justifications I used to make. I talk about the things that I do because I genuinely think if some people hear it, perhaps they will change their hearts and minds. I believe it's possible because I'm an example. I know of several people that I would call activists. One in particular that runs an organization that pushes for real progressive change. And in 2016, that person voted for Donald Trump and then woke the fuck up. And now they're a huge advocate. I don't even like making this video because it feels like a waste to talk about myself. I would rather my platform isn't talking about me and is just trying to help other people and bring awareness to things. And I don't need a bunch of comments saying like, oh, you're doing good things, don't let them get to you, whatever. No, I've been a shitty person. And all I am is a guy who wakes up each day and tries to be a little less shitty than I was the day before. Like, that's my whole agenda. That and hopefully raising my child to not have to unlearn the things that I had learned, to learn those lessons now, and to be a much better person than I am. And maybe, just maybe, help some people along the way. That's what I'm about. That's all I'm trying to do. If you're about that, great. Welcome aboard. Happy for the help. If you go, I didn't know you did bad things before, I don't like that, that's fine too. But coming to a video where I'm like trying to bring awareness to something or trying to help someone and then commenting like, remember that time you were a piece of shit? Honestly, it feels like it says a lot more about you than it does about me. And it's not great. Maybe just hate me from afar and don't get in the way.
My name is Amber Leonard. I'm a licensed practical nurse that lives in Los Animas County, and I help oversee taking care of the elderly, disabled, and hospice patients that are on the last terms of their life. This big, beautiful bill is going to affect my community by taking away the access of their care. And a lot of these patients, they have nowhere else to go. So are we really at that point that we're going to risk our vulnerable? I don't think so. That's not the American way.
Hi, if you live in Maine, Utah, Alaska, Wisconsin, Kentucky, or Florida, you might lose some of your hospitals. I need you to watch this. A report recently came out that if Trump's big, terrible bill passes, there are a huge number of at-risk rural hospitals that are likely going to close. These senators put it together, including 2 from my own state, Oregon. The total number that we could lose is 338 rural hospitals, which means people will die. Wait till you see how bad it is in each state, and the last one is the worst. And I'm sharing these states specifically because these senators can be swayed to a no vote. In Maine, Senator Susan Collins could lose 2 rural hospitals. So, ma'am, how do you feel about that? In Senator Mike Lee's state, he could lose 3 in Utah. Senator Murkowski, who tried to do these totally sketchy carve-outs where she's like, the rest of America can lose their healthcare, but Alaskans will be fine. But then that got thrown out because it was like not fair. In her state, 5 rural hospitals could close. And in Alaska, that is life or death. Senator Johnson in Wisconsin, his state's going to lose 3. This one was so big I had to make it a sticker. This is our dear doctor friend, Senator Rand Paul in Kentucky. 35 hospitals could close. How are you going to sleep at night, not only as a senator, but as a doctor? And lastly, Senator Rick Scott in Florida could lose 1. So what you need to do is super easy. Yes, you can call, but they're not going to be in their offices right now. They're going to be on their phones, however. So comment, DM, all the things to call them out and embarrass them on social media and say, how is it you want hospitals, rural hospitals, to close? Why do you want your constituents to die? You don't? Okay, cool. Please vote no. I'm going to tag them and I'm going to put their information in the comments as well. And let me know when you've contacted them.
Our patients are truly going to suffer. We may see hospitals that are shut down and closed because they can't afford to stay open.
The patients, after they get their surgeries done, they're not going to have the care that they need.
There's already a shortage of staff. With less people available to do the testing, work will be delayed, diagnoses will be delayed, treatments will ultimately be delayed as well.
Instead of building memories with their families, it'll be more troubled times on wondering how they're going to get care and how they're going to be cared for.
We have longer wait times in the emergency room. We have more patients than the nurses can handle. So everybody would be affected, not just those patients that would be losing their healthcare coverage.
It is not fair that billionaires are getting tax breaks while the working class is paying the price and suffering.
This is who's taking over the United States, guys. These guys, check this out and listen into it because it gets crazy.
Empathy almost needs to be struck from the Christian vocabulary.
It does.
Empathy
yes.
is dangerous. Empathy is toxic. Empathy will align you with hell.
Absolutely.
Sympathy, compassion, yes. Empathy, deadly and dangerous. And this will be controversial. Women are especially vulnerable to this. Absolutely. One of the patterns that we've seen in 25 years of church ministry, the most divisive households are those households where there is a loud, aggressive, Jezebel spirit wife paired with a weak, passive Ahab beta male.
Yeah.
Not ungodly for a man to speak into who his wife is friends with.
Yes. Absolutely.
Who she can hang out with.
Who she's following.
Who she listens to.
Yeah.
Because a husband and wife have to be united.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not chasing Sharon around policing her friends because my wife is godly and she wants nothing to do with the ungodly.
Yeah. Right.
But I'm telling you, women can be vulnerable to friendships and history.
It's like watching The Handmaid's Tale in real time. If you want to live in that kind of society, I'm telling you, it's the reason why we left. One of the big reasons we left.
Thank you for watching Great Minds Blacks.